Hey YouTubers, thanks for stopping by to watch this video. Much appreciated. Today we're going to talk about shaky heads. And I've learned a few things over the past several years, so I'm going to share them with you today. So I guess, intro complete. Alright, here we go. Shaky heads. Well, I tell you what, I love them. And I've had a lot of fun throwing them the last several years. But there's something I noticed with shaky heads that often gets overlooked. And that is the head designs on the jig heads. It's so important to select the right jig head when you're throwing a shaky head. So in this video, I've kind of put together a little map or guideline, I guess you could say, to how to approach shaky head fishing. And I think the best way to approach it is to go over these jig heads and understand which ones that are best versus, one that somebody may be throwing that, and yeah, they may be catching them, but it may not be right for you or in your certain situation. So with that in mind, let's take a look. All right. I put together a little guideline here, and we're going to start first with the finesse shaky heads. So, of course, when you're talking finesse, you're talking spinning rod. So, we're starting with, let's see, 1/16 of an ounce. Now, as you can see, I've got the setup criteria. It's 8-pound fluorocarbon leader with a 15-pound braid main line, a 7-foot medium action rod, and a 300 series spinning reel. Okay, and that's for the 1/16 ounce. Now I chose these heads because they're a football style head, and it's got a vertical line tie with an EWG hook. See? So what's good about this, a lot of people say, well, that head doesn't stand straight up. Well, you're not taking into account where the vertical line tie is mounted onto the football head. So imagine you got a line tied onto there. Well, when you're pulling that, it's going to be, it's not going to be in a 90-degree angle or nothing, but it's going to be about like that. So that worm is going to be up off of the bottom. So don't get hung up on, well, that thing doesn't stand straight up. No. Look at the head and look where the line tie is. And envision that pulling that bait across the bottom of the lake. Okay. So then we come up to the 1/8 ounce. We bump up on the fluorocarbon leader to a 10-pound. Same braid, same rod. But when we jump up to the 3/16 ounce, we're going to use 12-pound fluorocarbon leader, and we're also going to increase the braid to 30-pound. And we're using a different rod at 7-foot medium heavy. So this here on the 3/16, I found this jig head that I really like. It's a VMC Shaky head. It's got a recessed vertical line tie in it. I don't know if you can see that. But this is a really good jig head. So that's kind of my guideline on the finesse shaky head. Now, I don't have these two finished yet, but I will be roughing those down with a little bit of sandpaper, and then I'm gonna paint primer, and then I've got some semi-gloss black spray paint that I'll eventually be painting those. So those are made by owner, I believe, and I'll show you those later. And I'll also provide links in the description of all these heads. One thing I will tell you guys is I have found that, you know, I stay away from the shaky heads that have the plastic keeper on them, where you screw it on to the plastic keeper. I don't use those because it narrows the amount of exposed hook when the fish bites the lure. So I don't use those, and I'll show you that here in a minute. But now let's get to the bait caster as we go up in the size. So here's the 1/4 ounce, and I use 17-pound fluorocarbon, and I use at least a 7-to-1 gear ratio bait casting reel. Then I use a 6.6 to 7-foot medium heavy action rod. But when I go to the 1/4 ounce, I like to use the swinging style once I get up to the 1/4 ounce. So I'm not really throwing a shaky head style hook, but I get more action out of it, and it's kind of the same thing. So I use the swinging style head whenever I want to go up. So, you know, I mostly finesse fish the shaky head. So anyway, that's the 1/4 ounce. Okay, this is what I was talking about. This is one of those wire plastic keepers. I stay away from these, and the reason for that is, let me take one of these others. Okay, this is the 3/16 ounce, but it's if you compare, I can't really do it and hold the camera. But if you can compare, well, you can see it right there. See how much more it narrows down the hook to where, you know, when the fish bites, it's gonna have, there's less exposed hook. So I just stay away from those. I just wanted to show you guys that. So anyway, guys, here is the jig heads that I was talking about, and owner makes them. It's an ultra head football finesse. Okay, and I got it in the 1/16 of an ounce. And then I've also got it in the 1/8 ounce. So that's what I'm using. So anyway, I'm out here in our storage shed, And I'm getting ready to give them the primer treatment. So basically, I've hung all my jig heads up, and I'm gonna just and you know, I'll get them primed up on each side. So I'll do this side and then turn them around and do it again. So that's the plan. All right, I hit it with the primer. So I'm gonna let these dry, and then I'll come back and hit them with the semi-gloss black, and we'll be good to go. So I'll show you what they look like after I'm done. So let's just move on to the rod and reels, I guess. All right, we're outside. It's a beautiful day out here today. So here's the two rods that I use for shaky heads. And again, like I said, I mostly throw shaky heads on spinning rods. You know, it's, for me personally, it's more predominantly finesse. So this one here is the main one I use, especially during the summer. And then I picked this one up here a few days ago, and that's what I'm going to be throwing the smaller jig heads, the 16th and the 1/8 ounce. But I mostly wanted to point out with the rods, and I think is the most important thing, is the line. And the main line I use is a braided line, and it's a high vis line. It's a yellow high vis. Spider Wire makes it. I'll put the link in the description. But I put 15 pound on this more finesse setup, and then I put 30 pound on the heavier setup. So I'm really excited about this new KVD spinning rod I got, and evidently it's the same exact reel as what I have on this one, except Blues put KVD's name on it. They're both 10 bearing systems, really smooth reels, great drag. What I like about them is, if you look on there, their braid spools are just really nice. Probably the best braid spool around, one of the best anyway. I'm sure Shimano and some others make some good ones, but anyway, that's my setups. They're both 7-foot rods. The KVD, the lighter one, as I showed you earlier, is a medium action, and this one is a medium heavy. So there's the rods. Well, back out here in the storage shed, and so I put a coat of this paint on the jig heads. So I got that done. So let this dry. They really turned out good. That primer really helps. You know, I've tried to just coat them, you know, be lazy and just coat them with semi-gloss black, but it scratches off too easily. You got to put a primer under it. So anyway, in the meantime, while this is drying, I guess we can talk a few other things. Well, I got one of these done, and they turned out pretty nice. I'm happy with them. So, you know, it took a little bit of work, but I got them done. But I guess to finish this video off, I'll just share my final thoughts on shaky head fishing. And I guess some of the best things I could tell you on the heads is really pay attention to that line tie. It's very important. And my advice is to stay away from these style shaky heads, because, you know, it reduces the amount of exposed hook when the bass comes up to bite the worm. So I don't like these. Another thing I don't like, and you'll notice, is that it has a horizontal line tie. So what happens is with a horizontal line tie is it'll really dig, you know, and it'll get caught up more and you'll have more issues with it. And so that's why it's so important in my mind to have a vertical line tie on a shaky head, because it's narrower. It can go through a lot more junk in the lake than this style shaky head. So also I wanted to share that with the braid, you know, the reason I throw a braid on a shaky head is the feel, you know, and the sensitivity is so much better than monofilament or fluorocarbon. And of course, monofilament floats, fluorocarbon sinks. But think about it like this. Braid has multiple strands that makes up the line. So that means that a braided line can provide more energy up the line. You know, it's got multiple highways. So if you're just throwing monofilament or fluorocarbon, you only got one highway. So braid gives you much more sensitivity. You can feel those bites, you can feel everything on the bottom as you're pulling the bait. So, you know, those things, the braid and the high vis line is important, because when you're out there and, you know, you can see your line move, and it helps you determine those strikes. You know, there are some guys out there that, you know, say, well, you just need to don't use that braid, you know, you just need to use fluorocarbon. Well, I disagree with that. I've had better luck with braid. I have better feel. It just, all around, this setup works for me personally. So that's my rundown on shaky heads. I hope you enjoyed the video. Shoot, I probably enjoyed it more than you did. I mean, I love diving into these techniques and learning. I'm just a sponge when it comes to fishing. So I hope you enjoyed the video. Click like, subscribe to my channel, leave a comment below. You know, let me know what works for you. I'm always anxious to learn from other fishermen, so don't be shy, leave a comment. So anyway, guys, I'll let you go, and it looks like Sunday is supposed to be really nice, I think close to 70. So I'm hoping to get out on the lake and get a video done. So until then, we'll see you.